Hi, and welcome to Craft Along with Jay. I am so happy you could join me today. Today I have 3 DIYs to share with you. For project number 1, we'll have a glass jar. I think that's an old jelly jar, some paint, a clay mold, and some clay. And the first thing we'll do is cover the jar with some Mod Podge. This will help the paint adhere better and less likely to chip. So we'll give that a good coat all the way around. And then we'll let that sit and dry completely before we start painting. And while that's drying, I'll use some baking soda and put it into my mold. I'm just going to use one type of flour, and that's the one I'm um, covering with the baking soda. And this is just to help the clay release easier without any sticking to the mold. And I'll take a little bit of clay and I'll just kind of warm it up in my hands. Make it easier to kind of get it into the mold. And then when it's kind of good and ready, I'll roll it into a little sausage thing. And no, not this one. Made a little ball and then press it into the mold. I'm way ahead of myself. And then I just kind of pinch off the excess clay that's going over the edge. But make sure you press it in there good and tight so you get all the details of the flower. And then once you've gotten it in there good and there's nothing hanging over the side, just kind of bend the mold back and release the flower. And then what you don't see here, but I have a little pick, and so if there's any excess in between the flower petals, I kind of just um, cut that off. Now that the Mod Podge is all dry, I will use my celery and I will dab it on my jar, and I'm giving it 2 coats total. And here, this is several hours later when my jar is dry, and I made, I believe it's 15 little flowers. And I'm just going to use some tacky glue to glue on them before I put them on the jar. Now the clay is still a little bit on the wet side, so that way it's easier when you get it onto the jar. It's easier to mold it to the shape of the jar, if that makes sense. You can kind of press it to each side, so that way it's bending a little tiny bit. That way it's not like straight on and you have openings on the side. And then you just put them on wherever you feel like on the jar all the way around. Whatever makes your heart happy. And that's why I haven't painted them yet, because the clay is still dry. I gotta wait for it to dry completely. So once I've glued them all on here, I'm gonna let it sit overnight till it's completely dry and it's unstuck to the jar. So that way you're not messing it up when you start painting the little flowers. And then you can paint them any color you want to. So this is the next day, and I'm gonna take one of the little ribbons from this 3-pack, and I'm just gonna go around the top part of the jar. Just give it a little extra embellishment. And you just give a little dot of glue as you go around. Keep it in place. There we go. That's what it looks like so far. And now we're getting ready to paint. So I have chosen to do the middle part with the pale daffodil and white for the petals. I kind of wanted them to resemble daffodils. So I just use a very fine paintbrush and kind of very carefully paint the middle. And then I take the white and I go around and paint the petals. And there it is, all dry and painted. And you'll see it with the flowers in the finished view. On for project number 2, we'll use some clay again, a different mold. We're going to use the top one, and we're going to make 2 of those. And then I was going to use that same, but I end up switching it. I changed my mind. And then this cutting board, bamboo cutting board from the Dollar Tree. Then we'll do the same thing here, just kind of warm up the clay real good. And then kind of get it ready to press into the mold. Kind of do it in section, it's kind of easier. And this is why I roll it up to a little sausage. Then I just kind of press it in there. And then once I'm done with that, I will bend the silicone mold back and then the design comes out. It is so pretty. Look at it. Works really, really well. And then I'll go ahead and make another one of that. And this is the saying I have on here. It's a different one. It was a rub-on transfer that I used. I'm not sure what happened to the video of me putting that on, but it's on there. And then I'm just putting my clay down while it's still wet, kind of figure out my placement. And I want to glue that down while it's wet because that way I can um, kind of maneuver it around and set it however I want it because it's wet and I can still, it's flexible, really. It's what it comes down to. And then you can get the shape that you want out of it. And here I'm just using some wood glue. Spread that on all the way on the back side. And then I'll lay it down where I had it. And then just very gently press it down without smushing up the design, but just gently press it down. And then kind of wipe away the glue. Then I'll go in with a little brush and kind of go around the edges of the design and wipe off the excess glue. And then I'll do the same thing at the bottom. Just very gently push it down, not too hard. That's what it looks like. And then we'll let that sit overnight and dry as well. Now we're getting ready to paint, and I'm using Kelly green for the leaves, and I believe the other one is a creamy coral color. And the roses will be that color. And I just use a fine tip brush again. Trying to figure out what brush I need to use. Just want to make sure I can get into all the little tight spaces in there and around the edges without coloring on the board. So it's a little bit of a tedious job, but it turns out so beautiful at the end. And there are the leaves done. And then we're going to move on to the roses. And there it is. And then we're going to let that sit and dry. And when that's dry, I'm taking some white wax and I'm going to dry brush over it, but still making sure you cover the whole thing, but very lightly. Get into all the nooks and crannies. Kind of brings out the design more. It turns out really beautiful. Then I kind of wipe off the excess. Excuse me. And then I keep going all the way around. Trying to find the right brush to use for this that could get into all the little details. You see how it's bringing out the design? I just love it. It says home is where love resides and memories are created. On for project number 3, we use a little mini clipboard from the Dollar Tree, a little ring, floral foam ring, some more of the ribbon, and some flower picks. The first thing I do is remove the little clip on the front and the bow. We're not going to need that. It comes off really easily. Then there is a little hole from where the screw was, but we're going to cover it with the floral foam so you won't be able to tell. And I'm not going to paint the clipboard. I kind of like the natural wooden color of it. It'll go really well with this. And then I'm just taking the ribbon, kind of wrap it around the foam and around the clipboard to kind of see how much I need. And then I'll cut that off. And here I'm taking the tops off these flowers. And then I'm just trying to figure out the placement. We make a little flower wreath. So for the daisies, those were the only ones I had left. I have more coming in, but they haven't arrived yet. So I'm making do with what I have. It's just a little bit of hot glue on the tip of your flower and then just press it into the floral foam. And they're not going anywhere. So I just did it like 12, 3, 6, and 12 again. 9, 12. And then I put the yellow flowers in between and then on the outside of the wreath. I think these two flowers complement each other very well. Very much spring vibe. And here I start on the outside of the wreath. Not sure what I was doing there. But we finishing it up. And then I take my little jute twine ribbon, kind of go around my wreath, and then I glue it to the back. And then I glue it to the very tippy top so that way it stays in place in the front. And this one is going to go on my chia tray down in my kitchen. I like it. I think it turned out really cute. All right, here's the finished view of all of them. You have to let me know which one is your favorite. I'm having a hard time choosing. I think they all turned out really cute. But let me know down in the comment box below. I would love to know. And thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time.